Okay, so Elizabeth, I have done a ton of work trying to complete, hold on just one second. Okay, all right, so now I will say that two things I want to point out right from the get-go. We had to change the color because the color that I was using previously was too dark, and it also seemed very serious when I tested it with other designers. So we kind of went back to the burnt orange color. And then the second thing is the service that I'm working on is kind of more complex than I had like originally thought. So I only have you know, some of the flows really figured out, but the flows that I have figured out, I did prototype. So I'll go ahead and share that with you right now.
Awesome, sounds good.
Okay. So, all right, homepage, active user, right? And the first thing that I want to do is add a book from my Up Next collection, which is portrayed right here, and update the system that I'm actually reading this now. So click on it, and it updates right here. It adds it to the amount of books that I've read. Let's see, what else? What's my next thing? Oh, yes. So these cards down here, next book recommends, the recommendations. You have a choice to remove a recommended book if you don't want to see it again. So we can do that here. You also have a choice to add this book to Up Next. Now, I know that there might be in the future a way to add this book to other collections, but for simplicity's sake and for the flow right now, let's just say you see a book that's recommended to you. Let's just add it to your Up Next, make it super easy. So the other thing that I wanted to show was, and this is gonna look a lot better when I get the animations right, but when you hover over these, they get a little thicker, so you can see them a little better, and that's that.
Sorry, when you hover over the arrow, the chevron, the arrow?
Yes, yeah, so they're going to
okay,
thicken up when you hover.
Got it.
That one stayed thick on accident. What else? Is that broken? Ah, okay. So from here, you can also edit your book reading goal. So here, it's just really simple. Set a new book reading goal for this year. I wanted to make it really, really simple. And this is kind of the same way that Goodreads already does it, because I realized that it makes it really, really complex if you allow them to adjust the amount of time for the goal. And so for simplicity's sake, let's just say it's the annual goal.
Have you thought about letting them choose like number of books versus number of pages?
I haven't considered that, but it is definitely something that I know that we wanted to explore, especially when it comes to adding more metrics to like what you can see here. So yes, that's actually a good piece of feedback. So once you do that, hit the update, and then this progress bar got a little bit shorter. All right, so now let's see what it looks like when you search. I just figured really simple cards. I really wanted to indicate if something was an audiobook or not, and I think that's data that we get from wherever we're pulling it from. So I'll put a little icon there to see if it works. On hover, you'll see that this gets a little bit thicker, and it'll navigate you to the book details page. Now from here, let's say that you wanted to tag this yourself. Strong female lead, you can choose from the collections that you already have, or you can add a new one. And then you see it right down here. Other things that you can do here are update your progress and when you started and finished. So let's say I just remembered that I finished this in December. So I went ahead and updated it. And then that's as far as I've gone there. Then we can go from the home page to the collections page. And I did show you this a little bit. Oh, I think this isn't centered right. That's my bad. But I did, in Design Crit, I asked them what they thought about the different ways of portraying these cards, and everyone was super excited about this. I did create some other ones that I thought would be totally passable, especially since this 3D style isn't portrayed anywhere else in the website. So I was like, maybe it might be a little bit jarring. It's interesting, but maybe a little bit jarring. So I also have like a very flat, like Airbnb style that I'm definitely going to show both in my case study. But that is as far as I've got there. And I am still working. So
yeah, no, this looks really, really great. I love seeing it all come together. And I think totally agree that this design style is like really interesting and works super well for this scenario, and totally get that, like, yeah, it looks a little bit different, but maybe that's not a big deal because you're using the same like book style, and that's what really matters, is that it's built from like the same component structure. So I think it looks really great. I think there's like definitely things that you could push around a little further, but in general, I think the flow makes a lot of sense, and I love how you're keeping it simple, because I think things like Goodreads, for example, are a little bit overcomplicated on some parts, and so I love how you're like focusing on those like key goals. So in general, it looks really great. Definitely think about, like, rather than books, maybe pages, think about some ways you can maybe differentiate from Goodreads a little bit more with that specific thing, because they're really well known for their like yearly book challenge, and so even if it's just like one simple thing, it could even be like a monthly book challenge or something. You could change it a little bit, like it could still be simple, but just like a little bit of a different spin on it or something.
Okay, all right, I hear that. Do you have any other feedback for any of these other things? I'll give you, I mean, like, you have access to the whole Figma file.
Yeah, I think in general, I can take a look at it in detail again, but I think you have like the flow and everything makes a lot of sense. Your hierarchy is really great. There are some like small things that I'm sure you'll see at some point when you're like looking through it in detail, but in general, there isn't anything that's like a major red flag for me.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know, you've been like, I
sure?
really love what, yeah. I feel like my entire life during Design Crit is always like change these 3 million things, but I think in general you've like really thought this out a lot. My other question is just like how can you push this further, and like what if you had like no constraints, like what would this look like? I think you definitely can have the freedom to do that. One small thing about this specific thing is that this box thing, just like for some reason the way it's like aligned with the stars and the text on the left, it feels almost similar but is not the same, if that makes sense.
Sorry, which element are you talking about?
So this element,
okay,
like there's stars here and there's stars here. Why are these stars orange and these stars not orange? Like there's a date here and there's a date here. Like it probably doesn't matter, but like there is some like there might be some ways to explore it a little bit more, where you can make the right side either more differentiated or more similar to the left, so that's not in this awkward in-between state where it's kind of similar but not the same. So
I totally
that's just like a thought.
Yeah, to me it almost felt like I was putting like a sticky note on the right side, like, oh, like this is my personal stuff where I'm taking notes, so I didn't even consider aligning it except for the top alignment, right, because that's super important.
Yeah, I think right now it's like, I think it's good that it's separated. I would just maybe push it a little further to make it feel more separated, because right now it's kind of like in the middle.
Got it. Okay, that's good feedback. Thank you. All right. Well,
Cece, do you want to share your stuff?
Yeah. So we got a little bit more progress on the iOS app. You can see it over here on the left. I added a few different little features. So when you come to it, normally you would see like what are the requirements, if you need a symbol or a capital letter. So this lets the user know that. I also added some error messages. So if you don't put anything into a required field, it lets you know to put something in. It also validates email. So if we just pretend to put in a valid email, it will catch it, let you know, hey, make sure you have the correct email in there. Same with the password. If I don't adhere to the required characters, it will let me know. And you can also see your password now with the eyeball. So you can double check what you're typing in. And it also lets you know in case your passwords don't match. So you can correct your mistake. Once you're all done, it will automatically sign you in. So no more pop-up alert like you said. And it'll go straight to the home screen. We haven't fully made this out yet because that's on our next release canvas. So I'm going to take you over to the search, what we've been working on the last few days. So a user can quickly search for a book, and you can either scroll or you could hide and scroll to view your results. And the rating will show up in the stars. So we'll eventually get rid of the 0.5 or the 1.3. That's just for us to double check that it is showing up correctly. But the book cover will be to the left. Of course, you got title and the authors. And when you click on this, it will go to a detail page.
Awesome. Love seeing the progress here as well, and just seeing everything come together is really great. And so once you start adding in those images and stuff, I think it'll really start coming together. But it's really great to see like all these different aspects of the product coming together and really feeling like a family.
Good deal. Yeah, and it's blue right now because we haven't changed it orange.
Yeah, that like the color thing will definitely help. Like color and type is specifically will make like everything feel a lot more cohesive. So definitely work with Lynn on that. Yeah.
So the web team is working on refactoring of code. So once they release Canvas, I think within 1 or 2 days it will be approved, and then they will be working on the front end of what Lynn has given and the recommendations. And then Ryan wanted to give the DS update. Right?
I'm here. Just a moment, please. Thank you. So we are at a point now where we're starting to explore multiple different varieties of our model for recommending books. And it's really, usually whenever we've, in our core curriculum for learning data science, we've been able to evaluate our predictions based on like a numerical accuracy, like a percentage. But in this case of recommending books to people, that's not really feasible. So we've got 4 steps here to solve the fact that we're trying to quantify our accuracy. And that's first to establish our baseline, which is just the model that was left to us by Labs 21 group. So in order to measure our success of whether or not our models are becoming better or worse than the initial baseline model, we've put together a survey for just our labs, or just our BetterReads group, where they fill out the survey, and it just asks them what are 10 books or audiobooks that you've read or listened to. And then in the future, as we release more models, we'll be able to show individualized surveys to these people in our group. and just say, hey, these are the books that you've listened to in the past. We have model number 1 is recommending these books based on your history. Model number 2 is recommending these books based on your history. Which set of recommendations make more sense to you? So it's very individualized, and we think that that'll be able to help us determine which model is better.
Awesome. Yeah. Love how you're thinking about it this way, and definitely think that individualized makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
That's all the updates we had.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Really love seeing this come together every single week. And so you all should be really proud of what you're working on. It looks really awesome and definitely like feels like it's going to be a great user experience. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.